Hey, what's up YouTube? Lightsaber Samurai here. I'm back again for another video. This time we are diving back into the original Xbox and talking about some more hidden gems. Now, the original Xbox is one of my favorite systems to collect for because not a lot of people are collecting for it in a hardcore manner just yet. So a lot of the original Xbox games can be had for extremely cheap, and because of that I've got 110 of my favorite on the shelf behind me, and I pay very little money for them. So without further ado, let's talk about it. Xbox Hidden Gems Part 3. Okay, so first game on the list comes to us by SNK Playmore, and yes, I know, SNK Playmore. So I wonder what type of game it's gonna be. Oh, it's a fighting game. Of course it is. This is Samurai Showdown Part 5, and this game is of note actually because at the time Samurai Showdown 5 was an exclusive game to the OG Xbox. You couldn't find it on the PS2, not the Dreamcast, not even the Neo Geo. I think later they did release it as part of the Samurai Showdown anthology on the Nintendo Wii, but at the time the only way you can get this was on the OG Xbox, and you see I got that copy for 99 cents. I don't know if it's focusing on that, but yeah, I got super lucky on that. This is your standard Samurai Showdown game. 26 characters is what they give you, you know, from characters throughout the series, and it's, like I said, your standard Samurai Showdown game, but that doesn't mean it's bad at all. I actually really like the Samurai Showdown games. It's got a zany cast of characters, and samurai and ronin from all different types of classes from Japan's Edo period, and so, you know, they'll wield a variety of weapons, whether that's you know, katanas or dual blades or spears, and you know, they've got fighters who, you know, Kotaro is my favorite, the ninja that has the dog with him, and so, like I said, a lot of really cool characters, very diverse cast of characters, which is good for any fighting game. I like this game because it's fast-paced, but it does seem a little bit heavier and weightier than what we've seen in some of the other Samurai Showdown games, which again, for me, that's fine for me. I like games that feel like they're heavier hitting. Graphics on this are nice. It's got a really nice 2D sprite style. It actually really looks like a Neo Geo game, and just the way it kind of feels and flows. All in all, this is still a very cheap game. You can definitely find this for under $20, and I definitely think it's worth that. It's also, again, worth mentioning that you can find this on the Samurai Showdown anthology that came out on the Nintendo Wii, which I'm actually on the lookout for. So if you like Samurai Showdown, again, this one is hard to get outside of the Xbox and the Nintendo Wii, so if you find it on the original Xbox, definitely pick it up. Okay, moving on to the next game on the list. This is one I told you guys I would review a long time ago and just never got around to it. This is Cell Damage on the original Xbox, and I got this in a pickup, like I said, months ago, and I know some of you are waiting for me to review it. I'm sorry it took so long. I kind of forgot about it, honestly, but going through my original Xbox, I found it again. This actually was a launch title on the Xbox, if I'm not mistaken. It was brought to us by Pseudo Games, and this is a car combat game, and this one's pretty unique because, I mean, Cell Damage, so cell shading was kind of like the niche thing to do back in the day, and this one looks really good as far as cell shading goes. Oftentimes, like even now, like playing this on my OG Xbox, it really looks like a cartoon in motion. You got 6 wacky characters to choose from, as well as 4 guest characters that you can later unlock. And like I said, how it compares to Twisted Metal or Vigilante 8, it definitely has kind of a more unique feel. The action in this is very fast paced, so it's not like, you know, health bars, you know, characters with health bars, and you can go and find, you know, health power-ups to keep your health up as you know, whittle down the health of the other other contestants. No, in most cases, you can be one-shotted by many of the weapons that appear in this game, and that's, for me, one of the main gripes I have with this game. The weapons, fantastic, by the way. You've got, kind of mundane stuff like baseball bats and hammers that kind of, flatten characters cartoon style. The axe is my favorite. The axe is a one-shot kill that basically cuts everybody in half. But again, therein lies the problem. The weapons, while they are, definitely on brand for the cartoony style of the game, there's definitely some balance issues, like some of the Gatling guns and things like that. They really don't do the same type of damage, as the axe, for instance. And so oftentimes you'll kind of find yourself just kind of rushing and trying to beat the other character to that weapon that is really gonna turn the tide for you. But like I said, the gameplay is really fast-paced and frenetic. Again, with most weapons, I mean, if you take a sustained burst from most weapons for even 2 to 3 seconds, you're toast. You die and then you instantly revive, and it's back to it. So a couple of different game modes. My favorite one, I can't remember what the name of it is, but basically I think it's called Smack something, like Smackfest or something like that. Basically you get awarded points for as many, for the more enemies you kill, and first one to a certain amount wins that match. Again, it's really fast paced, and not only that, the arenas are actually quite small, so that's another issue that kind of works and then kind of doesn't. Sometimes it's nice to have big arenas, but sometimes the problem is, especially in other games like Twisted Metal, when you get down to 1 or 2 combatants, it's kind of hard to find each other, and then you're just kind of wandering around. But in this, like I said, the enemies are always in your face because the arenas are actually pretty small, compared to a lot of the competition. All in all, this is another super cheap game that you can have for around the $20 mark tops. I think I bought my copy for $7.99, and it's definitely worth that. You can also get this on the GameCube, and I do believe that there was a Cell Damage HD version released for PS3 and PS4, so I'm definitely on the lookout for that. So if you see Cell Damage, definitely add it to the collection. Moving on here, next game on the list actually is one of my favorites. At the turn of the century, extreme sports were all the rage, whether it was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater or Matt Hoffman's BMX, Shaun White's snowboarding, and things like that. The Cool Border series, SSX, extreme sports games were, that was prime time for extreme sports games. I was always watching the X Games on TV every summer, and it was lit. But like I said, we got a lot of great franchises and a lot of great individual games within those franchises. But one hidden gem series in the genre when it comes to extreme sports games, I think, is Aggressive Inline. And this was a game that was brought to us by Acclaim's AKA. And this came out on all major systems at the time, the Xbox, PS2, and the GameCube. This one came out on all the major consoles at the time, whether that was the Xbox, the PS2, GameCube. I like this. This one has some technical advantages that the other two doesn't. It also has slightly better graphics and things like that. 8 huge worlds on this. I really like the thought that went into the level design here, like the movie lot and just a lot of the other places you can go. The environments on this is really well detailed, and the game works superb. Again, it has a really rocking soundtrack. Licensed music from the early to late 90s and even the early 2000s stuff. So the soundtrack is on point. There's not much I can say about this game. If you play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, if you play Matt Hoffman's BMX, you'll definitely fall right into the controls here. There's not really anything that's going to throw you for a loop, and it doesn't really do anything super unique, which may be why it kind of fell to the wayside. But again, I was all about these games at the time. Aggressive Inline was one of my favorites. It's got a bunch of pros as well as a couple of like made up, wacky type of characters as well. So if you see this one, Aggressive Inline is dirt cheap. Like I said, there's a ton of copies running around out there for all the major systems, so you can easily find this one, for under $10. So if you like Tony Hawk, if you like, Matt Hoffman or any of the extreme sports games, Aggressive Inline will be right up your alley. Okay, penultimate game on the list here, and this is brought to us by Zycat Interactive, whoever the hell they are. This is Blackstone, and this is an Xbox exclusive. Now, first of all, when I saw that cover, I was like, ooh, like Blackstone? Like, okay, you got my anime characters out here with the swords, a dude screaming, there's a guy with the claws like this. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, like this game's about to be lit. And basically what I got was a Gauntlet ripoff, or, like Dark Alliance, those type of dungeon crawl RPGs, which isn't a bad thing. I actually happen to like those type of games, and, those are always, good for co-op action. This one has some issues though. This game got critically panned pretty much everywhere that it was reviewed, and I can definitely see why. First of all, the sound in this game absolutely atrocious, and that's on all levels. The soundtrack is not very good. The sound quality itself is rough and scratchy. It sounds like I'm playing this, on like a 3DO or something like that. It's definitely sounds like early 90s, like compressed like sound files from like, some of those, early to mid 90s consoles. And man, like it's really rough. The sound is really bad, and that alone is almost enough for me to just turn off the game. The graphics, again, the graphics also are not very good. The graphics, I mean, this was the original Xbox. It was the most powerful console of the 6th generation, and I'm getting graphics that I feel like could have been easily done on, the PlayStation or the N64. Like, it definitely looked like a 5th gen game in a lot of aspects. That being said, the game, I actually found the game to be pretty fun despite myself. Another issue that I have with it is the controls are kind of sluggish. Like, the characters move at a pretty slow pace, but if you continue to hold down the directional button in any given direction, then they will start to, bust out a jog, which makes it a little better. But again, the controls, well, the movement controls are actually just okay. Fighting and everything else, though, you got a wide variety of things that you can do. Like, I was playing the warrior class last night when I was playing this game, and, he's got, a bunch of different melee combos he can bust out. He's got magical spells in the form of scrolls that you can find, so you can hit, kind of like bomb style, like elemental attacks. He's got a really cool ranged weapon where he shoots energy out of his sword. You can actually hit a stance to power up that meter, so you can basically infinitely use projectile attacks just so long as you have energy in that bar, which again, like I said, whenever you want, you can hit the stance and power up that bar. The combat in it is actually pretty good. So I played as a couple of different classes, and I haven't got a chance to do co-op with it, but yeah, I was actually having a blast. The gameplay is what stuck me again, even though technologically the game is screaming last gen. This game, like I said, critically panned, and because of that, you can find this game for pretty cheap. Honestly, I think it's worth it. Again, I am a fan of Gauntlet style, like dungeon crawler games. I don't play them as much anymore because I always prefer to play them co-op, but if you see Blackstone, this is an Xbox exclusive, and so if you are an Xbox collector, it's definitely worth having in the collection, for the low price. Okay, and going on to the final game on the list today, and this one actually, this is actually top 10 for me on the OG Xbox. It's another exclusive brought to us by Sega and their legendary Smilebit team. Final game on the list tonight, we are talking a little gun Valkyrie, and as I mentioned, this is done by Sega Smilebit team. These are the folks that brought us Jet Set Radio Future, for instance, and so definitely a talented team of developers there. The story in this game, interesting story. It takes place in a parallel timeline where Halley's Comet brought the world like a bunch of different technologies in the form of Halley's core, and people were affected by it and granted supernatural powers, and they were known as Halley's Chosen. One such person was at the time a baby in the womb, and their mind was affected, and they became the super genius who developed all these technologies when they were born, and invented space travel and nuclear fusion and things like that. And the British Empire, who he was a member of, they used that technology to take over the world. Fast forward to the turn of the 20th century. It's 1906. This guy has disappeared and had been missing for several years at the start of the game, and you play as the Gun Valkyrie squad, which is kind of like a military branch in this Britannia Empire that's risen up for mankind over the past few years. You play as two characters, Kelly and Sabaroda. I think I'm saying his name right. Sabaroda is a samurai who was exiled during the Meiji Restoration, and Kelly is, I think she was a former Irish soldier, was fighting for their independence but switched sides and joined Gun Valkyrie. This game is actually really cool. So basically it's another one of those games where you go through levels and kill a bunch of bugs, very similar to Earth Defense Force or other games like that. This game really got a lot of flack for its controls, but honestly I don't think the controls were that big a deal. You always hear phrases like steep learning curve when you talk about this game, and mainly that's due to the fact that you have to click the thumbsticks to do certain actions. Like if this were PS2, you'd be clicking like the R3 and L3 buttons, and so it's not a big deal once you get the hang of it. I personally don't like controls like that because I think they wear and tear on your controller, but it's not a big deal. Honestly, I think it works pretty well here. You've got a variety of maneuvers that you can do in what's called your gear skin, which is kind of like your exoskeleton battle suit that you take out on missions. You got a really cool jetpack, and with that you can dash, you can hover, you can turn quickly, you can straight fly through the air, and you can bust out a bunch of different maneuvers. Once you get good at it, you can go through missions without barely touching the ground, which is super cool. Playing as Kelly, she also has the option to upgrade her gear skin throughout the course of the game, and that's where the difficulty level of this game kind of takes place. Kelly has the rapid fire, auto aiming several enemies at once type of weapon, and because that, she's more of the easy difficulty, where Sabaroda has a more powerful weapon, but he has to really be careful about where he attacks, as he can only aim one enemy at a time. The gun is more powerful but also slower to fire and slower to reload, things like that. He can't upgrade his gear skin at all, and his gear skin also is less mobile than her, so that kind of substitutes for the games like easy and intermediate to hard difficulty, but I think it works. The graphics on this game absolutely fantastic. These are some of the best graphics you will see on the original Xbox, and this game actually got a little bit of extra time in development, as it was originally a Dreamcast game that was ported over when the original Xbox dropped. So if you can see this one I think is rising in price. This one will kind of run you about $30 if you can find it out in the wild or on eBay, but it's definitely worth that. I fear that this may be one of those expensive $80 to $200 games in the future, and so it's definitely one you want to get now. I haven't seen Gun Valkyrie in the wild for 4 or 5 years, so if you see it, definitely pick it up. You won't be disappointed. Okay guys, so I do believe that's all I got for you, but let's talk about it in the comment section below. Questions, comments, concerns, threats. What are some more hidden gems for the original Xbox? As always, if you like this content, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already. You'll be glad you did. I do believe that's all I got for you. Lightsaber Samurai out. Peace.